Colorado voters will decide next year whether the state should change its policy and stop collecting tax on tips and overtime pay.
This is a huge conversation and part of our newest episode of the Business Budge, which starts streaming on 9 News Plus tomorrow. Here's a little preview.
Argument behind the ballot that's coming from Advance Colorado is we think the state should be giving tax breaks to people who need it the most. And these are folks who are earning overtime. These are folks who are earning tips. Now, the reason these two areas are focused on is because the federal bill that passed in early July said that both of those sources of income are exempt from federal income taxes. If you're making overtime, you don't have to pay taxes on it. If you're making tips, you don't have to pay taxes on it.
So here to talk about it is Business Buzz host Ryan Frazier. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
All right, so we're going to pick it up from that clip. So the argument is not only that people in those positions get paid less, so they keep their tips, but also it may make Colorado more attractive for workers and even companies to relocate here, right?
Yeah, that's a part of the argument. So back in July, you may recall the federal government decided, hey, we're no longer going to tax tips and overtime. Yeah. And so this measure, which will come forward next year, right, 2026, to the voters, would decide whether the state would continue to collect those taxes on tipped and overtime. And the argument is, yeah, this makes Colorado more competitive. It makes it a place where more people want to be. You know, I have an older son, one of my older sons, you guys know I have a few kids. And he's a bartender. Okay. And I asked him about this, and he actually said to me he thought it was a great idea. Now, not to get political, he just said, look, being able to keep more of my money is something meaningful for me. He's 24 years old, right? So I think there is certainly some advantages to this this approach. It may make Colorado more competitive. It may make more people want to move to this state, which is good for our economy, I think. So that's the pro side of this argument.
Okay, give us the negatives.
Now the downside is there's a real concern, given the year-over-year budget shortfalls that the state of Colorado has had to face, that if these tax cuts were to be passed by the voters, that it's only going to further take us down this path of having more draconian cuts that need to be made. So things like transportation and higher education, which are oftentimes the first up to be cut, could very much be exposed if voters decide to cut these taxes. Now, there's some argument about the number. So on tips, the number is close to roughly 30 million. So in the big scheme of things, doesn't seem like a lot. But on overtime, you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars potential. So that has huge implications. So it's like, what do you want? Do you want to cut taxes, make Colorado more competitive, more of a place people want to be? And in doing so, potentially have some shortfalls in our budget. But the other side of the argument is, well, actually, if we cut those taxes, maybe it makes Colorado more attractive, so more people want to come here, and we have more business here, and so actually taxes that are collected go up because we're doing more business. Right. So those are the debates that's going on. That vote's going to come forward, as I said, next year. But I can tell you, there's going to be a lot more discussion amongst the business community and labor leaders and the state in general about this measure and the impacts it could have. Good or bad?
All right. So the other topic that you guys were all talking about is the changing real estate market in Colorado. Ooh,
big topic.
Yeah, you guys know. You guys talk about this pretty regularly in terms of just what's happening, right? But we had a real estate agent on, Shauna Lurie from Compass, talk to us a little bit about what's been happening year over year, right? You guys heard this through your conversations, but more homes have, the inventory has been surging, if you will. More homes are on the market. They're staying on the market longer. And so we talked about, what does that mean for employers? Because one of the big challenges, right, is getting companies and employees to want to move here and to be able to buy a home. So is this a good thing, right? Yeah. Now that homes are staying on the market longer, does that mean you're going to be able to afford it? You're not going to be paying $100,000 over asking like we've seen in years past. So this is a good thing, or not. And what can we expect? And we talked about that, and then we had some practical advice, since we had a real estate agent on, to talk about what are the types of things that buyers and sellers should be thinking about. So it was a great discussion. I think it's a meaningful conversation that we're going to continue to have as we talk about affordability in our state, right? So right now, housing prices have been moderating, right? They haven't been growing as much. In fact, in some cases, they've been dipping. But on the other hand, there's still a lot of people who can't afford to buy a home.
Yeah,
so
mortgage rates are hard too, right?
Exactly.
Now. All of it.
Yeah, and then you're wondering what's going to happen with the interest rates coming up here pretty soon.
Well, there's a whole debate about that. Is the Federal Reserve going to actually take steps to cut interest rates, which will ripple throughout the economy here in Colorado and around the U.S.?
All right, well, you got me hooked, Ryan.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be watching. By the way, you can catch this new episode too this afternoon at 2:10, streaming on 9 News Plus. It's also available anytime on 9 News Plus on demand. Let's get a check of your forecast with Chris.